Morning, Coach. I wanted to ask you, what has been your experience coaching Casey Morsell, and how has your relationship with him kind of developed?
Well, first of all, Mike, he's a tremendous young man, and I've seen him grow. In the last couple of years, he's gotten very comfortable with our situation. Obviously, Tony and his crew did a great job recruiting him to UVA. Really special kid, and he had to adapt to two different systems, and he's been really good at that. And I think you're starting to see him have more confidence this year than he's ever had in his whole career, and he's really shooting the basketball well for us.
You mentioned the fit in the system. Your style seems to suit him particularly well. Not that he couldn't play in other systems, but what have you seen from how his game fits kind of what you ask of him?
Well, I think it was an adjustment. I mean, I think he's the type of kid that could play in any system. I think he was very productive for Tony and those guys too. But it took a while. Anytime you get a transfer, and obviously they have to play a completely different way than what he was used to. And I think I have to give him a lot of credit. He's kind of adjusted, and he's learning how to play the way we want to play, and also to be effective doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Next question will come from Greg Medea. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, I'm just wondering from your perspective, looking at Virginia, Jaden Gardner has been a little bit more involved offensively for them the last 2-3 games. I think 17, 18, 20 points or so the last couple of games. What have you seen from him in scouting UVA?
He's really talented. I think what happens with him is, he's kind of you look at it, it's kind of a throwback post, because his ability to make a 15 to 18 foot jump shot. And, he's not really the traditional back you down guy, but his ability to space you out. And, obviously they do a great job with him getting him to kind of the short corner into the free throw line area. And you really have to respect his ability to score the ball. I think one of the things he's gotten a lot better at is he's doing a much better job of getting offensive rebounds. And he's scoring in a lot of different ways than he has in the past. But he's talented. Anytime you got an older guy who's played, and once again, we talked about Casey Morsell, as a transfer. Now he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable the way Virginia likes to play. And he's had, his games lately have been really, really good for those guys.
Next question will be from Royal Howell. Go ahead, Royal.
Good morning, Coach. How are we doing this morning?
Good morning, Royal.
Coach, Terquavion, on his matchup on Saturday, he might have had probably the lowest shooting percentage from 3-point and, the field overall, but he still had 10 assists with 2 steals, was able to impact the game outside of scoring, making his teammates better. What does that do from your standpoint as him just making the teammates better, even on a low shooting percentage day?
Well, I think it shows maturity, with him, and we sometimes forget that he's just a sophomore, but being here last year, I mean, he is, he wouldn't have done that last year if he wasn't scoring the basketball. It would have really affected the other parts of his game. The thing that I've been really impressed with him is that he kind of, a lot of times when people go through the draft process, they don't listen. And he's really listened to what the scouts have talked about. One of the things we talked about is if you're not having a good game scoring the ball, how do you impact the game in other ways? And, even though he didn't score, he made a lot of passes to lead to scoring, and 10 assists, a career high for him. That's the maturity of his game. I don't know if he's first, second, third, or fourth in the league in assists, but that's one of the parts of his game that I think has really grown. And, it's respectful because, we all know that he's a natural scorer, but when you can also get your teammates involved, I think that's a maturity thing for him.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
James Henderson, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, hope you're doing well. Obviously, Royal touched on this a little bit. Your guards didn't play their best offensively this past game. Facing Virginia, what are some things you'd like to see them try and do maybe better in this matchup?
Well, I just, I thought, Georgia Tech did a great job keeping us off balance, and you could tell that the focal point of the game was not to let those two guys really have a good game. I thought we stood around. I didn't think we did a good job of sprinting away. I didn't think we did a good job of pushing the ball in transition where we didn't get easy baskets. So, for those guys, I think a lot of player and ball movement would be important. I think they both still were effective, even though Jarkel didn't play well offensively. I thought he did some great things on the defensive end. But, when you're playing against Virginia, Virginia's always tough, number one in the country for many, many years defending you. So it's also going to be a tough game for them. And, we have to obviously don't let the ball stick.
Just to follow up, you had one of your best offensive games last year against them. Can you look back at that tape at all, or do you just view it like your personnel is so much different you really can't look much at it?
Yeah, I don't think it will help at all. They have a different team. They're playing different. We have a different group of guys. You could certainly look at it if you wanted, just to see how the flow of the game went. But at the end of the day, I thought we played one of our better games at home last year when we shot the ball well against those guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kip Coons, go ahead.
Morning, Kevin. Wanted to ask you about the importance of DJ Burns tomorrow night. Anticipate that Virginia is going to double him a fair amount, which they tend to do in the low post. And also, when he has to defend, how difficult is it going to be for him to be chasing that small lineup they've been using lately?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge on both ends. Obviously Tony's done a great job with his program. I don't think he'll change because he's playing against us. And so we expect, as we've always have, no matter who we play, who's been at that position, they're probably going to be some double teams. And, DJ's got to do a good job of trying to score the basketball, but also if those double teams come, find guys who can make shots or plays off of it. Different, probably, outside of when we played Virginia Tech early in the year, when you're playing Gardner and, their ability to step out and shoot it, it'll be a different thing for him to be able to guard guys outside of the block. And so he's got to really, do a good job in that area and sit down and defend. We have challenges on both ends of it, trying to figure out how to score with him against the way they play defense. And obviously he's got to do a good job on the other end defending those guys.
We'll go next to Corey Smith. Go ahead, Corey.
Hey, Kevin, you talk a lot about, opportunities coming up against, quality teams, but how big of an opportunity is, the month of February that you have ahead of you now that, a couple teams have dropped some games that are ahead of you in the rankings. You guys are on the cusp of being at the very top. How big of an opportunity is this month of February for you?
Well, I think it's when you look at the whole entire schedule, Corey, all of them are, and I say this, it's everybody's has a quad labeled to them. We had two tough games this week who are really good teams. And unfortunately, if you lose them, it could hurt your net. I think when you look at the game tomorrow, against a very good Virginia team on home floor, there's another quad one opportunity. And so I think anytime you can throughout the month or prior to, leading up to the Virginia game, you got to look at opportunities now because they are so important, especially since a few years ago, we went to a net system where everything is based on your quad ones versus quad twos, threes, and fours. And so, tomorrow will be another great opportunity for us. And, every time and it changes, Corey, it depends, by the time you play a team 2 weeks from now, they could be a quad one, quad two, and so could we, or quad three, it just depends. So this will be another great opportunity for us, and we have to try to take advantage of it if we can.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Kevin, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. We will